Good evening, everybody. What a happy day. I will sing a couple of songs to prepare for our public meeting. When life lends a hand, it's time to open up your heart. It is time to love one another. It's time to take part. Vibrate always, loving and serving everyone. Vibrate always, loving and serving everyone. When we give our heart and charity, our lives are transforming into songs. Our dreams become reality, and we join Jesus for eternity. Vibrate always, loving and serving everyone. Vibrate always, loving and serving everyone. When we give our heart and charity, our lives are transforming into song. Our dreams become reality, and we join Jesus for eternity. Song to Mother Zephyrina. Source of love that radiates, warming a powerful night, support and comfort, support and comfort, as they flow down the mountain, calling the children of earth, with love in their heart, with love in their heart. My soul never loses hope, because your love always teaches me the solution lies in our Lord. The solution lies in our Lord. Oh, my Mother Zephyrina, harvest of wonderful blessings. Make yours no son a good Christian. Make yours no son a good Christian.
How is life in the spiritual world? Would you like to learn more about it? Join us to study and learn together about this and many other topics.
make, but life to me is way much more. No matter what it seems to be, it's always time to make a change. Sometimes all we need is only one more chance. So try, build a bridge over troubled waters, fly. If that's all that you have left to do, I want more happy sunny days. I want more happy smiles on your face, love sparkling the eyes. Tears no more sorrows, no more bad days, no more cries, no more dark cold place, no more fear, no more fight. Someone told me long ago that life is just a long road. Sorry babe, but life to me is way much more. No matter what it seems to be, it's always time to make a change. Sometimes all we need is only one more chance. So try, build a bridge over troubled water, fly. If that's all that you have left to do, I want more happy sunny days. I want more happy smiles on your face, love sparkling the eyes. Tears no more sorrow, no more bad days, no more cries, no more dark cold place, no more fear, no more fight. I want more happy sunny days. I want more happy smiles on your face, love sparkling the eyes. Tears no more sorrow, no more bad days, no more cries, no more dark cold place, no more fear, no more fight. Let the sun go down away, shine, shine. Let the sun go down away, shine, 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 shine.
Never lose your faith in the brightness of your eyes. Never let the sorrow bring you down. Put a carry smile in your beautiful face. This way is much easier to go. Bright sun will shine. Let Jesus' love warm you up. Live happy your life and never think of giving up. Forget about your problems, enjoy living your life.
good of getting together. It's always good to do the good. I do believe the world can be better, and I know that you believe it too. Papa, Mama, brothers and sisters, let's get ready for a new dawn. This is the time for those big changes we have all been waiting for so long. Listen to this call, the time is right now. Here is the place, so let's move in a faster pace. Jesus waiting for us to spread His grace. It's always good to getting together. It's always good to do the good. I do believe the world can be better, and I know that you believe it too. Papa, Mama, brothers and sisters, let's get ready for a new dawn. This is the time for those big changes we have all been waiting for so long. Listen to this call, the time is right now. Here is the place, so let's move in a faster pace. Jesus waiting for us to spread His grace. Listen to this call, the time is right now. Here is the place, so let's move in a faster pace. Jesus waiting for us to spread His grace. Jesus waiting for us to spread His grace.
Does reincarnation exist? Would you like to learn more about it? Join us to study and learn about this and many other topics.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome back to our public meeting. We thank everyone for joining us tonight. Before we start, we would like to share a couple of announcements. We ask you to turn off your phone notifications and find a quiet place to stay during this time if possible. Our meeting will have a 30 minutes presentation followed by Q&A. Following the presentation, we will have a spiritual treatment with passes and magnetized water. So we invite you to set aside a container with water to be magnetized. For those who want,
What is God? Would you like to learn more about it? Join us to study and learn together about this and many other topics.
Sorry, because I anticipate my speech. So for those who want to learn more about Spiritism, Get to Know to Spiritism is a free and online course that happens every Saturday at 5:15 p.m. East. There will be a new class starting this Saturday, September 10th. The registration link has been posted in the chat. We also invite everyone to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube from the Spiritism Canada and the Spiritism group Path of the Light. And now I invite everyone to join me in our opening prayer. Okay, so let's close our eyes, elevate our thought in God. Heavenly Father, we would like to thank you for the opportunity to be here one more Tuesday in order to learn more about your teachings. We thank you for your love, your mercy, and for everything you have done for us. We all also thank you for this day, for our lives, our health, our family, and our friends. May you can bless all of us in our inner necessities, and may we become a better person due to your example of humility and peace. We ask the good spirits to bless and inspire our sister Anna, who will speak to us tonight. May we can learn from her, and may we understand that life is worth living. Once again, we thank you for everything, and we ask you to stay with us today and always. So be it. We would like to announce that our public meeting is being retransmitted today by Continental Conference Americas through their Facebook and will also be retransmitted every Wednesday at 8 p.m. East by Kardec Radio through their Facebook and YouTube. Everyone is welcome to write comments and questions in the chat, and we will address the questions at the end of the talk. The topic of today's special meeting is Speak Up about Suicide Pandemic Saving Lives, which will be facilitated by our sister Ana Oliveira from Alabama, United States. And now we invite our tonight's speaker. Welcome, Anna. Welcome back.
Yes, it's so nice to be here again.
It's
We
nice to have you here again.
we just to start connecting and we can feel those nice warm, feelings in our hearts to see everyone back again. So thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you.
All right, so let me share my screen. Share screen. So now let me see, how can I see myself? But maybe. All right, can you all see the slides? All right, so today we'll talk about suicide prevention. So that is a topic that it's usually more common in September, but I really hope that this message that life is worth living really can resonate with us every day of the year, not just during September, but it's usually the month that we, in many countries, we set aside to think about this problem, who is actually, a big problem. So I always ask, do you know anyone who died of suicide? Because I do, right? um, I think many of us know someone, maybe a classmate, maybe somebody from our family, maybe a neighbor, right? Um, Thinking about that, then the next question is, if I know someone or if I've heard of someone who died of suicide, is suicide common? And it is, right? It's the second leading cause of death among people 15 to 29 years old. It's and the estimation is that there are so many deaths that, the average is about one death every 40 seconds. So it's a lot, right? More deaths from suicide than from war and homicide together. If we look on the map, we can see that the rates of suicides are everywhere, but for a few places where there's no data. But again, if we see this spread, we can actually, because of all the stigma associated with suicide, with the taboo and all of that, we know that this is just the tip of the iceberg, right? So these are the numbers that we have information about, but it might not be all there. And here I just like to show like the ones that the rates from, from different countries from 2000 to 2019. This is WHO data, and we can see here Canada, is a little bit stable, going up. Here United States, where I live, going up. But you can see that it's still nobody really, it's really, the trend is not really going down, right? So when we think about that, if we, if we are asked that question, if we know someone affected by suicide, if we say no, right, we might not be paying attention. And like the title of the talk said, speaking up. So that's probably is going to be the main theme for today. It's to reach out, to speak up so that we can prevent some of these lives to be lost, right? So that we connect with each other, so that we can really use that type of charity that Kardec talked about, the moral charity, right? Being more kind to each other, being, even if I have problems myself, but not being so isolated or so indifferent to what is happening around me that I cannot feel or see some of the signs somebody's suffering, and I cannot be the helping hand, right? That charitable brother, that really brother, sister in Christ, that can actually show them the face of the Christ, right? It is love, right? But if we want to do that, how do we do that? Also knowing that is usually the lives affected by suicide is not just the life of that person who died, but at least the estimation is 5 people around them, right? So then you have, the loved ones close to that person, then now have also that pain and that void that will need, to deal with that. So if we can think about some of the signs and be alert, right? So breaking that silence, right? Really speaking up, looking, taking the veil, like putting things in the clear, right? Putting them under the light so that we can see them, right? Under the sunlight that can really, be can clean things, right, with the UV lights, but not just hiding things or putting them under the rug. So the signs will be different from person to person, but usually we talk about people being isolated more, people being showing lack of interest, right? People showing that hopelessness, right? So that is actually what makes it, even more urgent and more serious, the situation. But in general, is a different behavior. So we know that people, we might not be, best friends with the people in our work, but we know a little bit about them. So if you work with me every day and I talk so much, because I really do, right? And then I spent the whole day quiet. You're like, something is up. I mean, that's not her. What's up with her, right? That should call your attention. And, you can say, what's up with that? You have not been talking and talking and talking, that we have to ask you, please silence, right? So it depends. For everybody, it will depend. But we know the people around us a little bit, right? We know, and sometimes we have that intuition, right? We know that something is off. It doesn't really feel good. So we can ask. We can actually do something about that. And unfortunately, we already know as spiritists all the deleterious effects of drugs and alcohol to our physical health, but also our spiritual health. But in the case of people in crisis, if you're already isolated, if you're already hopeless, and then now you are under the effect of drugs and alcohol, that makes the situation more complicated, right? More urgent. So if you already saw this talk before, I'm sorry, but I put a few things new here so that it can get your attention. But I really think that sometimes the way for us to relate to something is to understand. So really we need to deconstruct that idea that people have about people who die of suicide. So sometimes we create those myths, but these myths don't help us help them. It actually makes us, kind of stay on the sidelines and not be actors in actually being a positive force in this problem. So sometimes people say, oh, people who die of suicide, they do not care about other people, they are just so selfish, right? So remember, again, moral charity. Is that nice to say that about people in general? Imagine somebody who's going through a crisis so much that they are thinking about dying. So remember, here we know that there is this law of survival, right? That everybody wants to live and live well. So for somebody to feel so much pain and be in a situation where they don't have that feeling anymore, that's what we're talking about. So that's what we need to relate to. That's where we need to connect, not so that we can feel bad too, but so that we can, just by understanding, we can reach out and we can really connect and help these people, and show them that there is a remedy, there is a solution for that pain. But this is false, right? And I always bring this example that it's, we can have thousands of examples here, but I like this example because it's recent. It was something that shocked me so much during also the pandemic. So this is a ER doctor during the pandemic helping her patients, doing everything, but she just have this feeling inside, and she really doesn't think it's worth living. What we wish, right, that she didn't, but that's what happened to her. And this, I also like to show this example because we can also, if you are in healthcare, or if you have people that you love or that that are in healthcare, they are also a risk group, right? People who are constantly taking care of others and putting others, before them, but sometimes don't have the time, or the opportunity to take care of themselves. Also, sometimes we think that if the person gave up, it's probably because they're unsuccessful. So maybe they don't have a good job, they could never be a celebrity, they could never be rich or be traveling or doing anything cool like that. But that is wrong, right? That is also false. And there are comedians who die of suicide, but I always bring the example of Anthony Bourdain, because I loved his show, of even though sometimes I worried about him drinking and smoking so much. But I mean, you look at those shows, right? Parts Unknown, you're like, wow, this guy, right? He's traveling, eating this food, meeting these people. He gets awards, he writes books, he's a famous chef. So his life must be wonderful, right? He must have no problems. And then we do not know what is going really deep inside of some, people. And that's the thing. There are people that might be with us at work, and they do their job kind of okay, but it takes all their energy that when they get home they can't do anything anymore, right? That if people ask them how are you, they might say okay, but it's just because they're just so exhausted emotionally that they cannot even really say, or maybe they don't think anybody will really really listen to them, right? So we never know what people are going through, but it's not about not having money or not having fame or not having the job that you want. It's different, right? You can see from these examples that it's not leaving many of us immune to this, so it's widespread. Sometimes we also think maybe young people or even children will not die of suicide, but that happens, right? We know, unfortunately, that even children as young as 5, we have data that they die. We know that elderly is one of the growing groups too because of the loneliness, right? That we are, we connect to each other through devices and social media and things like that, but we connect in a sense, but we don't really connect. We don't have really those deep relationships anymore, so people really feel, alone, right? Especially if you're not in that mindset of this technology. It's not what you like and who you grow up with. um, College students, we have to take care of our young people too. This is the university where I work, and we had an event some years ago, pre-COVID for sure, with this company called Active Minds, where they do this sand silence packing. So again, trying to break that silence, but here in a visual way. So each one of these dots in this green area here in the center of the university is a backpack of a college student who died of suicide. And sometimes you can actually, on the top of the backpack, will have information about them and everything. Sometimes it's the real backpack that the parents donated, the family members, so that it can, break this silence and maybe help somebody else, encourage another young person to actually seek help and do. But we see how our young people, are so much more vulnerable to that, right? And we keep thinking, I also have, from this year, a lot of bad, terrible, very sad examples in the US. I bet if we search in Canada, we'll find them again. We'll find everywhere, but here, we had the cheerleader here, 19 years old, and then 3 um, athletes, right? From soccer, from runner, right? Softball. So, our young people, not only just college students, but athletes that, have all that passion to perform. So that's the thing we want to try to stop and think, is that really the society, and are these really the values that we want to continue feeding this idea that for me to have any value in a society, I have to perform, I have to get a specific salary, I have to have a specific grade, I have to, get this kind of job, I have to have a house that is this big. Is that really what matters in life, right? Is that really what fulfills us? It's not. Is that really what, when we discarnate, is that what our Father, right, is going to ask us? He was going to ask me, Anna, what were your grades? What was your salary? Show me your paycheck. That's not, right? It's not even God who is actually ask me. It's my own conscience, right? That is gonna just evaluate all of that. But that's not what is more important. But if we give in, then then we start to feel like, yes, that's what is my worth, right? I work with young people. I have to tell them all the time, your grade is your grade. I want you to do better or to get good grades, but your grade is not a reflection of your worth. It's just your grade for that one exam or one assignment in this one course, in this one program, one part of your life, right? But sometimes that's what we are being feeding, all this pressure, where all these imposter syndrome and all of this feels us not feel connected or really like we belong and we fit in. It just makes us tired to the point that we feel like we do not we do not belong anymore. We can't carry on. So we need to watch our young kids and really try to build this a society that is less materialistic, right? That really reflects the true values that the gospel talks about, that they are from the spirit, not just from material things that are not everlasting. Another thing sometimes we think is that only people without religion think of suicide. Every time that we kind of separate them and us, then we're, it's harder for us to connect and harder for us to actually help, right? Because if I cannot be at least in your shoes somehow. How can I understand you? How can I really listen to you? So, and I put here think. So it's wrong. It's false, right? Not only people without religion think of suicide, and I'm going to talk to you about the case of Rosandro. But actually, the research that we have shows that having any religious belief or practice actually is protective against suicide, right? People who have a religious practice or beliefs, they die less of suicide than others. But that doesn't mean that they might not think. So in this case, is our brother Rosandro Klinge. He's from Brazil, right? He's a psychologist. He's also a writer. He's a spiritist talker. So he gives talks about spiritism. He wrote many books. One of them, it's this one here, where he talks about these times of desert in our lives, for a lack of a better translation word. These times where everything seems dry. There's not green pastures everywhere. It's not abundance. We feel like really, left, in this very, arid, right, and not happy place. And he confesses, or he shares that in that book, that about for 3 nights he thought about killing himself one time in his life. And he says that because he knew that death did not exist, he did not kill himself. So that's the important thing. That's why talking about things of the spirit, talking about spiritism, talking about life after death, that exists, that actually is been studied by science, and all of this can really make us pause. And even if we're really bad, just question if we don't believe yet, but that gives us pause, and that give us time to have assistance, to think, to improve, to get better, and not to really impulsively go and do something against our own life. But he also talks that in those times of desert, in those times where you really feeling like you're all alone, right? In the middle of the desert, just the sun shining and trying to toast you, nothing around you, no life, just sand and sand and sand. He says that God is already there waiting to rise you up, right? To lift you up. Because he said that later he got over, right? That that was a difficult time in his life. But then, he came back to a Spiritist center. He was working, there and doing everything, and he received a mediumistic message where the spirit was telling him how hard it was, such a hard time that he gave the mentors there, the spirits, the guardian angels, whatever you feel more comfortable calling them or classifying them during those times. So he knew for sure that he was not alone, because he never shared that up to that point with anybody else, and the spirits were describing exactly what happened, where he was and things like that, for how long and all of that. So that's the thing. It's even in those dark times, we are not alone. So but we need help sometimes from each other, and God knows that, and his mercy, he's sending resources in all kinds of way, right, from the mentors, the guardian angels, the spirits, but also friends that can call you right at that time, news that can show on TV, a message that can pop up, right, to make you snap out of it, right, for you to rethink, for you to nudge you in the right direction, right. So we saw here so many different groups of people, and all groups of people, regarding age, rich and poor, any country, all are susceptible to thinking of suicide, or even to dying of suicide. And sometimes we say, well, where are those people? Because these people that are saying that they're gonna die, they're just kidding. They just want to call for attention, and that is an error, right? We know also from studies, because we actually, this is a science, this is a study. We can actually, thank God, there are some people who attempt, but they are not successful. So then we can study some of these people and ask them questions and know what they were thinking and what was going on, so that we can advise and we can actually understand that situation a little bit more. And usually we know that these people shared with someone that, some kind of warning sign, right, but that we did not pick up, even though we love them, and even though we're around them, but we didn't do. So sometimes it's the behavior, like we were talking before, about a different way of behaving sometimes, and even aggression, right, because that can be a sign of depression, of not feeling well. It can be the mood, but it can be the talk. Sometimes people can really say, I'm going to kill myself. But sometimes they're not going to say that with those words. They are just going to say, I really feel like the world would be better without me. I'm such a burden to everybody else. And maybe if I was not here, things will be better. Right. So those are things that we need to be thinking about. Right. So what if you hear those warning signs or these warning words from somebody? Well, you should talk to them. Actually, as I was looking at this today, you should not just talk to them, but more actually, you should listen to them, right? And if you're thinking, if I ask somebody if they're thinking about hurting themselves, I'm actually putting ideas in people's head and I don't agree with that. So I'm not going to do them harm. So I'm not going to do that. But again, remember here, we're talking about breaking the silence. That's really the way that we can impact, make a positive impact in this pandemic, is really to talk. We already know from data that I'm not putting any ideas in anybody's head. So here, this is a post that I saved from the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And here's like two different situations. One, for you to check on someone that, to check in with someone, or for you to ask if you sense that that they are thinking about suicide. So, remember, it's okay to ask. You're not going to put ideas in their heads, right? Also, another thing, sometimes let's say that I'm in a room with 10 people, I'm taking this class or this seminar, or is at work, and I feel somebody is odd, I feel like that in my gut that I really need to ask them that they might be in need of help. But I say, you know what? We are 10 here. I suspect this person needs help. They are the person who I think needs help. There are 8 other people here. One of these other people will reach out. So we shouldn't do that, right? We should go ahead and take the responsibility to us. We care. It's coming from a good place. I want the best for that person, so I will ask them, directly. There's no perfect way. Sometimes we need to practice because it doesn't come out so, easy. It might come awkward a little bit, but it's fine. The more you practice, the better you'll be. So you can check on someone's mental health. So, if you know that somebody at work and your family member, your classmate is having a lot of problems. Maybe they're having problems in the family, but also their health is not okay. And then their grades are not good, or maybe they got a salary cut. It seems like everything is happening at the same time. Those times when you say, oh my gosh, when they ran your purse. So, maybe you can say something like that. It seems like you may be going through a lot. How is your mental health, or how are you feeling overall? Right? If somebody's if you think somebody's thinking about suicide, you should actually really ask, right? Do you ever have thoughts of ending your life, right? And sometimes if they say yes, then the next question would be, do you have a plan, right? And we know if the people have a plan, if you take, the object of that plan away, they will not try to find another plan. Usually that's how it happens. So you save that person, that you decrease so much of the risk once you take the object that they think the way that they are planning. If they cannot, carry on that plan, that they will be most likely safe, right? So every it's a difficult conversation, is different from everybody, right? And here's it's always important to read, to educate yourself about that. So the talk is like, do not judge, do not condemn, do not minimize the pain, do not give your opinion. It's not about you, it's about that person. You should be listening. Do not preach or teach, right? So we might be tempted because we believe in the power of prayer just to tell people, I'll just pray it out. We know it's not like that. And maybe they tried, they couldn't, right? So do not use empty words of encouragement. Just say, oh, yeah, it's okay. Everything is going to pass, right? That sounds to that person like you have no idea. You have absolutely no idea. You have absolutely no, you are not in touch at all with how they are feeling. So why should they keep opening up into you, right? So what if you say something wrong? We all have said different things and wrong things in conversations. You just don't give up, right? You get up on that horse again and you kind of, say, oh, wait a minute, I might have said something wrong. Let me start over, right? So don't give up. And what if you trying to reach out and the person says, yeah, I'm not so good, but I'm okay. I don't need help, right? So it's fine, right? The research shows that if we continue showing support, that is good for that person, that helps them, right? Just like maybe you talk in person, the person, doesn't want help, you can just text them the next day, I'm still here. If you need anything, just let me know. So remember that we have our health depends on our body, our mind, our spirit, right? So it's really taking care of all these 3 parts of our health so that we can prevent. But then sometimes, depending on how emergency, of our emergency this is, it's all about getting help or giving help. So sometimes are things that we can talking, helps always, but sometimes it's all somebody needs. But sometimes they need more than just the talk, right? And in the US now we have the 988 to Lifeline, but you probably have a specific number in Canada. So, for us, really important is that suicide is not the solution, right? So the person that it's dies of suicide and chooses that route does not want to really die. They want that pain to go away. They want to seize their lives extinguish that life because they think that then the pain is going to go away. But we know that death does not exist. We're immortal spirits. So then we do not really die. And that pain, right, that suffering does not go away with the death of the physical body. That pain can carry on and can be even more intense. However, we should always remember, because we need to always remember that moral charity, that God does not forsake anyone, right? So there's always resources. We know there, our Mother Mary, organized, rescue groups for our brothers and sisters who die of suicide. That's not there. They're going to be living in hell forever, and that can be something that is such a way of anguish for family members, that if you believe in that you'll be so sad that your loved one. But we know that God does not forsake anyone, right? That there's always a resource, there's always a second chance, fourth chance, fifth chance, right? So I'm going towards the end. So this is really for us to break that silence. How can we help? This is a big problem. It's important for us as spiritists, because we know that life is really important, is a gift. We know that we believe in multiple lives, but that is not in a way that, oh, we have another life, so let's waste this one. No, it's the opposite. It's like we have many lives, but any minute in this one here, it's so important, right? Because remember, things are not separate. Like this birth or this life is a chapter in this big book of your life that is connected with the other one. So what we do here, right? So it's at the end of this chapter, will impact how the story goes in the next one, according to the law of cause and effect. So that's why any little minute can make us think in a different way, do different things that can impact that positively, the next chapter, right? So hopefully you're encouraged to just have honest conversations, to reach out to people. It's okay if they're mad at you. It's all right. It's better than, at least that would be my choice. I would rather somebody be mad at me because I asked them if I can be of help, how can I support them, if they're really okay. Then if I don't do that, and then I know later that maybe they harmed themselves, or they really were in need, and I didn't reach out because I was just afraid, right, of them being mad at me, right? So because we're spiritists, we also have this suicidenever.com a website. Our friends also from Canada help us build and organize this site. It's a site more for spiritists or spiritist groups, or volunteers, people who want to disseminate this idea that life goes on, that life is worth living. And it has different activities that you can do to disseminate this idea with other people. So just moving on to the end here, and thank you very much for your attention so far. I want to finish here with two messages. So the first one is from the Spirit under Lewis, in this book that is also a movie called Astral City. Sometimes that's the name that is translated. In Portuguese, it's called Nosso Lar. Sometimes it's translated as Our Home. But in this, under Lewis, this spirit has a whole collection of books where he talks about life in the spiritual world. Astral City or Nosso Lar or Our Home is the first one. So in that book, he says that life does not cease and death is a dark game of illusions. Closing the eyes of the body does not decide our destinies. You have to navigate your own drama or comedy, right? So really encouraging us to stay, right? Stay one more day, stay one more week, right? Try it again. Keep on keeping on. Stay, because this place is better with you here. God has given you this opportunity to be here because you are special on the Father's eyes. Even though if most of the time we don't feel that special, it's all right. He still thinks we are special. He created us. He gave us this chance. So we just need to find a way to connect with him so that we can overcome that obstacle. But like Under Lewis says here, we have to navigate our own drama in our own comedy, right? If we can do that, and if we can come out the other side, we're going to say, wow, whew, that was hard, but I made it. I did it. I conquered it. And then that is so nice, right? Because then now nobody can tell you anything about your strength. You know, it's a fact. If you survive that, if you overcame that, is because you're strong, right? So, like my dad used to say, against facts, there are no arguments. So, that is a fact. So, you can feel good. But to get to that other side, you kind of have to go through it, right? You cannot just avoid, unfortunately, right? And sometimes this avoidance and this giving up comes because maybe we are in so much fear. Maybe we think we did something, or we're fearing maybe now how I'm going to provide to my family, how I'm going to face my loved ones if I lost my job, or if something happens, how I'm going to carry on if I just lost, or if somebody that I really like, that I really love died, right? Or maybe you did something to someone and you feel that guilt so much and you're like not feeling really good. You're like, how can anybody forgive me, right? Even God will not forgive me. So I always like to finish this with this verse from Romans where Paul tells us this, right? So he tells in this very beautiful way, but basically what he's telling me is that it doesn't matter how much guilt I'm feeling, how much fear I'm feeling, how much disoriented I'm feeling. I mean, what people are telling me, what am I telling other people, what people did to me, what I'm doing to other people, none of that matters. Nothing that I do or that others do to me or say to me can actually take me away, can separate me from the love that comes from God. So Paul says, for I am convinced that neither death or life, nor life, neither angels nor demons, neither the present nor the future, nor any powers, neither height nor depths, nor anything else in all creation will be able to separate us from the love of God that is in Christ Jesus our Lord. So I hope that we feel empowered, that we really believe in this idea that life is worth living, and that we really start breaking this silence so we can deconstruct this idea of suicide and put a more fraternal way in the way that we deal with ourselves, that we deal with other people, so that we can really make a big dent in these numbers, in this epidemic that it is, right? Because life is really, really is worth living, and the world is much better with all of us here. So, I hope we all, through all that we go through, we decide to stay and to carry on.
Thank you so much, Yana. Thank you so much for your great presentation. It is so important to talk about this theme, suicide. Sometimes we feel like you said awkward to talk about it, right? But we need to in order to help people, right?
Right.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I found a number in Canada, and
Okay.
I put in the chat. So I'm gonna tell you the number of it's in the screen. So in Canada we have this number here about suicides 180 33 456 4566. So if someone is uh think about this sad situation, we have a number and
Yeah. And
we
sometimes all we need is somebody to talk to. And I bet in Canada is the same way. But the people who answer this phone, I've been through the training here. They are the most kind and more non judgmental people that I have seen.
Mhm. Yeah.
Sometimes all we want to do is somebody to listen to us that doesn't even know us, so it's better they cannot go out and tell anybody about that, but that to let all that out, right? Yeah, it's
Yes.
really therapeutical. It's really it can be very very healing for us to talk
Mm-hmm.
about
Mm-hmm.
things.
Yeah, like you said, sometimes we only need someone to listen to us, and don't say anything. Sometimes just listen. We just need to be to talk what we are feeling, right?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
thank you so much. We have some questions for you. The first one, Rodrigo Villar, is asking if someone died from suicide, are they condemned for eternity or will they receive another chance?
Yeah, so there's no, we don't believe in Spiritism in any eternal condemnations, right? So
Mhm.
there's always a chance. It depends on us, and God is really, He's just, but He's merciful and loving. So yes, there will be multiple other chances to come back to do differently, and that's the God that we believe in, right? That's
Mhm.
the God how it is of multiple chances,
As
right?
much as we need it, right?
Exactly. Until
Mhm.
we learn.
Mhm. True. And we pass for a high
Exactly.
level.
Exactly.
Okay, we have a Publius question. There is a very significant number of suicide at schools. Is there any special program at US schools to help to prevent the suicide?
Yeah, in I know at least in higher ed, because this is what I am more connected, that many universities have, I know in the one that I work, we have trainings for faculty, for students, so they can help other students,
Mhm, mhm,
because sometimes we have this idea that people are doing suicide prevention is just if you call a specific number. But if we all know a little bit about how to intervene and how to directly, can you imagine the potential, right? The exponential effect that this happens. So we can do this every day with some people in, from our family members, for, neighbors or people that we work with. So, I think in, at least in higher ed that I know, there's a lot of training, for faculty, for teachers, on how to recognize these signs and how to talk, right?
mhm.
And also for students, so that they can help, each other too.
Okay, thank you. And I think we have time for one more question. Rod Gomez is asking, before any real action is taken, how can we identify the signals of suicide that people around us can give us? And how should we act? You
Yeah.
talk a little bit in your, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we talk a little bit about the signs, right? The if people are talking about they're feeling really hopeless, right? They cannot have plans really for the future at all. It feels like
Mhm.
nothing. You know, because sometimes you will be for everybody it's something that it's holding us here. Sometimes if it's a mother, maybe it's a child, right? If for somebody else is their plans or finishing school, it can be a pet, right? You want to be with your pet or something like that. So all these feeling of isolation, right? All these signs of isolation, of hopelessness, of not behaving like yourself.
Mhm.
And then how should we act? I mean, I think the number one thing, and that's one thing that I didn't really, I think, stress too much, is that we should not freak out, right? Because, like, can you imagine if you sharing with me that you're not feeling well, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Then you're like, oh my gosh, she's worse than I am, right? I'm gonna stop right here and not share anything, because now we're two in this situation. I was looking for help, and now she's, so that's why we say practice a little bit, because you need to kind of, it's not that you're not going to take it seriously, you will, but you're
Mhm.
not going to despair or freak out, or like, because you have, to try to be in that place someone that can help. And all that we try to do, like I said, try not to do. Sometimes we want people to plan their whole life, right? Just when they tell us that they're in crisis. So I want you to tell me for the next 10 years what you're going to do. But that's not necessary. I just need you to do something from, maybe tonight for you tomorrow to feel better. Can you go for a walk? Can you just make sure if you haven't been sleeping that you go and sleep? Can you eat well? Can you listen to a good music? Can you read a good book, right? Can you do something that is going to make you feel a little bit better if it's not something, urgent.
Have a good relationships, right?
Yes, and making sure that you get other people, because the support is really important, right?
Yeah.
Because that's not going to be solved probably like with as magic or with a pill or anything. It's something that the person will have to work through for some time and will need help and support for some time too.
Yeah.
But I guess the most important thing is to listen attentively, more listen than to, and also try to be as natural as you can, right?
Mhm.
Talk like you talk to a real friend, not trying to despair or freak out,
Mhm.
right? And ask the
Embrace
person,
embrace the person's feeling, right?
right? And ask them, how can I help you? Right?
Mhm.
Sometimes they can tell you, they can say, well, I really want to go to the doctor, but I don't feel like going by myself. Can you go with me at least, or can you drive me there? Or can you help me schedule it? Or,
Mhm.
so sometimes the person can tell you also what they need and how you can support them.
Mhm. Okay, Anna. Once again, thank you so much for sharing all these teachings for with us. It was really helpful, and hopefully, everyone who needs uh, know about this could stay here and uh, see your talk. But it's gonna be recorded, so someone can see later, right?
Right,
Thank you
right.
so much once
Thank
again.
you. It was a pleasure.
Bye. Okay, so now we will move for a. Actually, thank you for the participation in the chat. Okay, and we will now move for the preparation for our tonight spiritual treatment. Pass is the transfusion of spiritual energy with your goal of assisting with our physical, emotional, and mental balance. Passes help us to restore a state of harmony and peace by replacing negative energy with healthy, positive energy. In order to receive the best benefits from passes, please follow the audio instructions and remain in prayer. You may close your eyes to help with mentalization. And during the pass, the water you set aside will also absorb the spiritual energy that you, your family, can benefit from. We will now make a prayer in preparation for the pass, which will be our closing prayer as well. Okay, so once again, I invite everyone to close our eyes. Dear Lord, we thank you for this blessed night and for everything we learned during this tonight's talk. May we can mentalize and may we can be a tool to help people around us who is suffering. May everyone in this world can understand that life is worth living. May we can practice your example of humility, of love every day in our lives in order to love our neighbors and be a charitable person, a moral, charitable person. We ask you and the good spirits to help us during this treatment and that we can finish it better than when we started. Please bless our week and our night and help us to have a blessed sleep. May your love spread all over the planet. And once again, Thank you for everything you have done for us. Please, Lord, be with us today and always. So be it.
Let us now prepare ourselves for the moment of the passes and the magnetization of water. Let's now calm our hearts, breathing in and out. Pay attention to your body. Focus on your breath and let yourself be carried by this energy. Let your thoughts pass by without judging them. Let them flow. Allow this light to be the beacon that guides you, and allow these words to penetrate your energy. Make each word an anchor of gratitude, faith, and trust. With the purpose of healing, which takes away my faith, healing every feeling of separation, of pain, let it all dissolve in this moment, leaving only love, gratitude, and trust. We ask God for the presence of our guardian angel and the friendly spirits who welcome us into this enlightened environment of our Spiritist Center. We open our plexus of love and forgiveness by mentalizing a light surrounding our hearts. Find a quiet and comfortable place to begin the mentalization process. Remove all worries from your thoughts. We ask that during the pass you breathe slowly and deeply. Let your body relax and surrender yourself to a deep meditation. Calmly imagine divine energies in soft and colorful light surrounding you in an environment of peace and spiritual warmth. Entrusting God with your most intimate desires, raise your thoughts to Jesus and the emissaries of the spiritual environment. The path begins with the cleansing of your soul. Imagine a waterfall of crystal clear water pouring over us, removing all the feelings that keep you away from faith and trust. Feel the energy of this water bathing you and deeply breathe in, feeling peace and harmony. Allow this water to wash away all the impurities and spiritual larvae, washing away all the sorrows and resentments, any feelings of hatred and revenge that hold us back and cause us harm, not only from this life, but past ones as well. Now visualize spiritual doctors around you, applying magnetic cleansing passes, sanitizing your spiritual body of all sadness and negative energy. Mentalize these negative thoughts and feelings being washed away, evaporating from your soul, like water evaporating into thin air, and being carried far away from your mind. Surround yourself with the faith that bathes your being, bringing clarity and lucidity, rebalancing every cell in your body. May the water envelop all pain and bring the clarity of opportunity that chooses peace. The answer arises in our hearts, freeing us from all evil and freeing all whom we have caused evil into and who have caused us evil, washing away all the connections that bind us. Even though we may not understand, we are freeing ourselves from all that causes us harm. Feel this cleansing penetrate your soul and release. Now that we are spiritually cleansed, imagine yourself surrounded by the light of love from the hands of Jesus. At this moment, sing words of faith and gratitude, being faithful to the light that exists in me, planted by the zealous Father. Imagine the sunlight that surrounds and enraptures, freeing us from the chains of everything that holds us down, strengthening your faith. Allow yourself to trust in this light. Surrender to it. Involved in pleasant feelings and feeling relieved to receive the strengthening lights. Mentalize your spiritual mentors now applying divine light for the strengthening of your mind and your emotions, leaving you feeling emotionally revitalized. Let us now mentalize the magnetization of this water. May we mentalize all the friendly spirits, magnetizing this water and filling it with everything that our bodies, minds, and soul need, so that it may be of help to us when we drink it after the Pass. Thank you, God.
I would like to thank you for joining us tonight. And we will be back next Tuesday here on Spiritism Canada and Continental Concar for Americas at 8:30 p.m. East. And next Wednesday on Kardec Radio at 8 p.m. East. Have a good night. Bye.
Come on, my friend, come to the light. Here with all our heart and soul, let's follow Jesus Christ. Let us preach the peace, let us preach the love. And this world already wonderful will be much more. Get up, look at the sky, in the earth where the flowers bloom with sunshine. Let's hold our hands and be together on this road. Then we take peace and love and spread it to the world.